Hello, friends. I've been playing some Dominions 5 lately, and I've got a lot of free time at the moment, and I'm a little bit bored, so I thought, why not make a beginner's guide for you wonderful people out there. So in this guide, I'll be going over some of the basics, concepts, the interface, and some early game strategy to help you break the ice. This fantastic game. So what is this game all about? Well, Dominions 5 is a turn-based strategy game, and a pretty unique one at that. If I had to compare it to any other game out there, I would say it's a little bit similar to Masters of Magic, the old DOS game, or in some aspects, Age of Wonders. So Dominions 5 is set in a high fantasy world, so expect dragons, mystic forests, elves, dwarves, rolling hills, all the usual fantasy stuff you come to expect in a game. But imagine this world's ruled over by a powerful god, an omnipotent being that's ruled this land for, centuries, maybe even millennia. And he suddenly, in a blink, disappeared. No one knows where he's gone. He's just gone. So, the most powerful beings in the land have decided, well, yeah, I want to be the new god now. It's my turn. So, this is going to cause a problem. It's going to cause a few wars. So you play one of these pretender gods, and you will lead a nation across the land in a holy jihad, spreading your dominion, your faith. You have to defeat all the other pretenders and ultimately ascend to become the one true god. So that's what Dominions 5 is about, basically. So to achieve this, we need to play the game. That's right. So the first thing we need to do is to create one. So click Create World to start. Okay, then the first thing we need to do is to set up our game, and we need to choose a campaign map to play on. And the game will give you a few pre-generated maps already. You can also choose to make a random map if you feel like it. What I would recommend is installing some user-created maps. And if you're on Steam, you can go on the workshop, and there's plenty to download. Now, each map will have a number of land provinces and sea provinces. Now, a province is basically a country or a sector on the map, and the more provinces the map has, the larger the map. Now, there's two types of provinces. There's land provinces and the sea provinces. Now, this is important because if you choose a nation, which are the civilizations in this game, they call them nations, some of the nations are underwater nations, so you're going to need a decent amount of sea provinces to justify playing one. Now we're going to play a small map called Silent Seas. And if you click the map, it'll give you a little picture and a little brief description of that map. So we'll select that map. And the next thing we need to do is choose an era to play in. Now there's 3 eras to play in. There's the early ages, the middle ages, and the late ages. Now, each age has their own set of nations to choose from, and lots of nations to play in this game. And the main features of each era are different to other eras. Now, the early ages is more magical, in that there's more magic resources. The mages in the game are more powerful. Also, the opposite is the troops in the game have poor equipment, so they're a bit weaker. Now, the late ages is the opposite. Magic is less abundant, there's less magic resources, mages aren't as powerful, but there is a bigger specialisation of magic. There's more magic to choose from. That's because technology, obviously, magic's developed over the years. But the troops, especially the neutral troops, are better armed and are tougher. Now, the Middle Ages is somewhere in between, Now, if you can choose to play your first game, I wouldn't pick Late Ages as your first age, because it's harder to expand in the beginning, because there are neutral armies to defeat, and they'll be tougher because they have better equipment in the Late Ages. So I would choose Early Ages. That's what we're going to do now. So once we've done that, we're going to have to choose how many players are in our game, and that's dependent on you and the size of the map. So if you've got a large map, more players; small map, less players. So you can add new players by clicking the Add New Player button. So we're going to have 4 players, and the game will give you some extra AI players once you've done that. And you can choose the AI's difficulty. So if you want to play easy, go easy. So for now, we're going to play normal. You can also choose the AI type. It's up to you. Aggressive, random, whatever. I'll just put in random for now. And each player that appears will have a random nation assigned to them. So for the AI, I'm going to leave them at random because I want to be surprised at what they choose. But for us, obviously, we're going to want to choose our nation. So if you click the random button next to the human player, you'll have a long list of different nations. And as I say, there's a lot of nations to choose from. Now, when you're picking a nation for the first time, I'd avoid any underwater nations like Pearl Kings, Deep Ones, Ryleth. These are all underwater nations. They're a bit harder to play. And some nations specialise in a magic called blood magic, and I'd also avoid playing them for now. Now, the game stupidly won't let you preview a nation before you select it. So what I would do in your first few games is maybe try some different nations until you get a feel of them, or find a nation you like playing. I'm going to pick Ulm, Enigma of Steel. These are a barbarian themed nation. So if you click the nation, it'll appear there in the participants window. And then click OK. And ignore Disciple game. That's something for advanced play. Ignore that completely. So click OK. And you will have a description of the nation, as well as the national features, which are features specific to that nation. So each nation has their own theme, own special abilities, I would say. For instance, Ulm is mainly made up of barbarians. Cold resistance, prefers cold provinces. And their military is made up of strong medium infantry and also stealthy infantry. And it'll also show you the magic that this nation prefers. Mainly earth, nature, fire, air, water, with some death. And they have superior magic item forging, which is the main feature of this nation. Also, their priests are weak, so they're weak priests. And their buildings, they build standard forts. And the feature of standard forts is they produce 25% more resources. These are all concepts I will explain later if you're confused. Now, also, it will show you what units nation can field. So there's a list of units and commanders. And also, there's something called magic sites, and these are the magic sites that will appear in your first province when you start the game. But all this we will go over later. So our nation is selected. The next thing we need to do is create our actual pretender god. Each nation will have their own selection of pretender gods, and this is like the god design screen, and the game will give you a set amount of design points to customize your god. So I have 195 for now. So we need to choose an actual pretender god. So what we do is go into select physical form, and we'll have this large selection of different crazy creatures and monsters to use as our pretender god. So if you want to see a description of what each god is, you just right click their sprite, and it'll give you a description of all their abilities and all their stats. Now each god will cost you a number of design points. So as you can see, Father of Winters is 230 points, where the Eldest Dwarf is 70 points. Usually higher the points, the more powerful the god. But if you have a cheaper god. You get more design points to customize your god with. Some gods like Titan of the Forge will have like a bonus and reduction of points because it favors my nation. And you also notice that each god is in a different dominion table. So some gods have a lower dominion level, like the Werewolf here. It's only level 1 dominion, where like these guys at the top are dominion level 4. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to select the Titan of the Forge because he fits my nation, because he has a Forge bonus. So I select Titan of the Forge, and you'll see my design points have changed to reflect the cost of the god. Now we need to design our god. So the first thing we need to do is to select which magic spheres this god has. Now he already starts with level 2 in Earth Magic, level 1 in Fire Magic. Now I can increase this by using design points by clicking on it. As you can see, it reduces each time I level up. Now you can also choose to buy a new sphere or new path, but this will cost you a whopping 60 points. It's a lot cheaper to just raise the ones you already have. It also will show you which pre-spells your pretender will cast. And this will change if you increase your magic level. So if it increase my earth level, you can see it's changed to Poltergrave and Word and Stone from Banishment and Smite. This reflects on what magic sphere you've chosen. So if I level up my earth magic, you will notice I'll start incurring bless points. So if I go into level 7, I'll have 7 Earth Bless points. Now, bless effects are used to bless sacred troops and will be able to use on your pretender and something called a prophet, which I'll show you later. And you can pick which bless effects you want from the magic sphere you've chosen. So I've got 7 Earth points to spend. So if I click Add Bless Effect, we can spend points to get different blessings, basically. So 7 points I can get Hard Skin, which will increase my natural protection, or I can get some cheaper ones like Mantle Survival and Reinvigoration. So I'll just select some bless effects and use my points. Okay, so that's done. So the next thing we need to look at is our Dominion. Now, your Dominion is your faith level. So I've got level 3 Dominion, and Dominion is always represented by this candle. So white candle is your Dominion, and the black candle is enemy Dominion. Now, in a Dominion, the higher the level, the better your bless effects, and also you incur some morale bonuses and other things. Now, each province will have its own thing called scales, and this is scale. These are scaled off your Dominion. Now, your Dominion will have your selected scales, and any Dominion will have theirs. So in a Dominion, you'll have these 6 scales. So you've got like Order and Turmoil, Productivity and Sloth, Heat and Cold, and these will go up and down. So you can increase Order, or you can into certain levels, and then you can decrease Heat into Turmoil for certain levels, and these will incur bonuses and penalties. Now I say if I increase my productivity scale towards productivity, I get income and resource bonuses. Now if I tip the scale towards sloth, I get income penalties. Now if you increase your scale towards a positive scale, you'll spend design points, and if you tip it towards a negative scale, you'll get increased design points. Now some nations like negative scale, so it's not always bad to have a negative scale. Where this nation prefers to go into the cold scale, which is usually a negative scale, but heat scale can be negative as well. Depends on the nation. So we can increase our scales by spending some design points, so we can get a bit of productivity and a bit of growth as well. So we've spent practically all our design points now, but what we can do is do something called imprisonment. Now you have 3 different imprisonments: awake, dormant, and imprisoned. And what this means is your god will appear later on in the game. So awake's the default one, and that'll mean your god will appear at the start of the game, so you can use him straight away. Or you can choose imprisonment, use dormant, so he appears into up to a year's time, maybe a few months. And the prison's the worst one, where appear in about 3 years' time in game time, but you gain 350 points, which is quite a lot. It's up to you what you want to do. I'd say, like, for example, the Forge God isn't really a fighting god, so you could choose Dormant and get 150. I choose a Pretender God with the Awake Imprisonment if you want to use him straight away. And this is very good if you choose something like a Dragon, which are very powerful in combat and can take early provinces on their own without an army. So there's different strategies and ways to build your god, and you'll learn that as you play the game. But for now, we're picking Forge Lord, specialise in Earth Magic, with a few positive scales. And it hasn't got a high Dominion level, but you can increase your Dominion level later in the game. So next thing we need to do, let's click OK. Let's give our god a name. That's right, we'll praise Llama. And then the last screen is our game settings. For now, leave this alone. You can change settings however you see fit. The main setting I would highlight is this one at the bottom, where it says Thrones of Ascension. This will choose your victory conditions. At the moment it's set to Throne of Ascension, but you can choose to Conquer All, which is defeat all pretender gods. You have one where you can win by spreading your dominion across the map, one where you get so many provinces. The Throne of Ascension is basically capturing certain key provinces and holding them, and these have thrones on them. I'll show you that later, but for now just leave that alone. Okay, now it should start the game for you, and you'll be given a message, and each turn you'll have this message box. So click exit and we can go straight to the campaign map. Alright then, so a game is finally set up and we're ready to play. But let's go over the interface. I know you want to. Okay, so you'll see several boxes around the edges of the screen. Now, on the right side are your menu buttons. On the top here we have some information, one for the province, one for your treasury. And the left side are your commanders. Now we'll go over these and explain what they do. So we'll go with the options for now, and you'll see some basic options such as end turn. These are obvious options. Goes into your settings. You can set some map filters if you want to. If you want to take some things off the map. Statistics is basically some graphs to show you your income and productivity and stuff like that. Read messages will bring back that message box. We want to see what happened over the turn. Send messages for multiplayer, so ignore that. So the next lot we have research, which when we click will show you your magic schools. Now this is how you research different spells. Now each sphere of magic has their own magic schools, and each magic school will unlock spells. Now if you click a magic school such as Conjuration, it'll show you a list of spells you can unlock every level you increase that school. So at the moment Conjuration is level 0. Level 0 has no spells, so we have to get to level 1 to unlock the next lot of spells for that school. Now if we look at the spells such as Summon Cave Grub, it'll give you details on what sphere of magic that school is and how much it costs. So if you look on the left side, that'll show you which sphere of magic this actual spell is. So it's a Earth Magic spell, Summon Cave Grubs, and it's a level 1 spell because it's only got one icon. So Black Servant is a level 2 Death Magic spell, which that means is the mage that's casting this spell has to be level 2 to cast Black Servant, or a level 1 Earth Mage to cast Summon Cave Grub. Now you can select any spell to give you a description of what it does. And on the right side you'll see these little gem icons, and gems are the main resource for casting spells. So Summon Cave Grub will cost you basically 6 Earth Gems to cast. Now some spells have a little pentagram next to them. Pentagram means it's a ritual spell, and you have a ritual spell or combat spell. Now ritual spells can only be cast on the campaign map by mages, where combat spells are cast in actual battles. Okay. So next to the level you'll also see something called RP. These are research points, and each level will cost a certain amount of research points. So to level up conjuration, I can't even say the word, conjuration, it'll cost you 50 research points. And now research points are gained by researching with mages, which I'll show you later. Okay, the next one is Global Enchantment. Now, some rituals will have a global effect across the map, and they're usually persistent, and any that have been cast will be shown here. At the moment, obviously, we started the game, so there are none to be seen. The next one is Magic Resources, and these are your gem incomes for spells. Now, as I said before, each magic sphere requires gems to cast spells. And each sphere has their own gems, so you got like fire gems, earth gems, water gems, earth gems, etc. Astral magic has something called astral pearls, which is just the same as a gem. Now blood magic is different in that you need blood slaves, and they are a different kind of resource to gems. Where gems are usually found from magic sites, blood slaves usually need to be actively collected, and I'll show you how to do that later. You'll also have the option to transfer your gems to commanders as well. That's something to take note of for later as well. So the next thing we have is a magic item treasury. We have no magic items, so our treasury is empty. And then we have the one called army setup, which I'll be showing you later, and recruit units, which we'll be showing you together with army setup. And the last one is one called mercenaries, and you can hire mercenary armies in this game, which will temporarily fight for you in the game. So at the moment we've only got one called Urgek Beast Brothers, and you can select the army. It'll tell you exactly what you get. So you'll get 20 men, and they demand £30 of gold for employment. So what you can do is you can spend gold to bid for that army, but other nations can bid as well, and the highest bidder gets that army for about 3 months or 3 turns. So at the moment we don't want them. Underneath here you'll see this list. These are buildings. I don't know why they put the buildings underneath the options. Really should put it somewhere else. But if you select a province, and you can select a province by right clicking on it, you'll see a list of buildings and magic sites on that province, but we'll go over that later. Okay, the ones in the middle here displays your name if you've forgotten what you're called. Also displays your treasury. Now I'm going to go into how income and resources work in this game. Now there's 3 basic resources in this game. The first is gold, the second is resources, and the third is magic gems. Now, the way the game generates resources for you is a bit tricky. Now, each province has their own income, and when you capture a province, you will need to collect income from that province. So, as you can see, we start in one province here in the middle. You always start with a fortification. Now each nation has their own fortifications, which incur different bonuses and have different features. We have a fortification, if you click the fortification over here, called a fortress. Now to collect resources and gold, you will need a fortress on a province, and that will collect resources from that province. It will also collect resources and gold from adjacent provinces. So unfortunately we started in like a coastal province, but if we conquer these 2 provinces here and we have a fortification adjacent to them provinces, it will collect gold and resources from them provinces. So that's basically how you generate income in the game. Now you can obviously move across the map and build, like if you build another fortification here, and then conquer the surrounding provinces, you'll get income from them provinces. Now, where magic resources, such as gems, are collected via something called magic sites. Now, if you look at the side here, we have a magic site called Irminsul. This is a starting site, and this is generating gems for us. Some magic sites have other effects, such as giving you unique units and stuff like that. Now, the way to get magic sites is to discover them, because if you conquer a province, it may contain magic sites, but they will be hidden. And the only way to uncover a magic site is to find a mage with the right level of magic in a specific sphere to reveal the magic site. So if you've got like a level 2 water mage, and you search a province with the mage, and that magic site has the right like requirements, it'll unlock the magic site, and you'll start getting the magic income from that magic site. So that's basically how you get income in the game. Okay, I'll explain the castle as well while we're at it. Now, the castle is very important. So if I click Car Fortification, because they have like something called administration level, and the higher administration level, the higher the collection of resources from adjacent provinces. They also give you various other things like an extra commander point for recruiting commanders. This particular fortification has a fort resource bonus, which gives us 25% increased resources gained. Also, they have their own defense levels, because there is sieging in this game, and if to take a province with a fortification, you will need to siege the castle, break the defences, and storm the castle to destroy it. So this particular castle has a certain amount of defenders, like a warrior chief with 20 archers, and the defense score and HP value to its walls. So that's basically higher HP, the longer the walls are hold out against like siege machines and such things. And it also has like a supply level, which shows you how long the siege can last. So, going over that, we can go to the last window, which is the province information window. So if you select any province, it'll change the window. We only have one province unlocked, so we'll go over what each thing means in the province. So we've selected Ulm, and each province will have its own like terrain feature. So this has mountains. So if you look at the icon next to the name, hover over it, it'll show you mountains, and each terrain feature has plus and minuses. So the mountains will have low income, have excellent resources, but has more magic sites. So you'll get more resources and less gold from a mountain region. So if I click this region, this one's got highlands, and this has low income, so less gold, higher resources, and also hinders movement, which means it's slower to move through this province with an army. Okay, so we'll go over what each thing means in this window. So the first thing we have is population, and the higher the population, the better the income and resources, basically. So high population is like highly desirable in a province. It can go up and down depending on certain situations. The next thing is supplies. Now each province will have a supply level. This is for armies. Now if you have an army in a province, it will take away from the supplies. So as you can see here, this army is taking away 32 supplies. So a large army will take away a lot more supplies. Now if an army goes over the supply limit, it'll incur penalties and will eventually starve, and people will start dying. So that's something to be careful about. Then we got your income. Now income is gold. So this province creates 363 gold a turn. Now any gold you don't spend in a turn left over will go into your treasury over here. And then you have your resources. So this is the total production of resources in that province, and we have 115. Now, unlike gold, resources will not carry over in a turn. So if you don't use all your resources, they get wasted. So it's always good to try to spend all your resources that you can produce. And the next one is the recruitment in this province. Because I have fortification in the province, you'll have a higher recruitment. Each province can recruit their own troops. But if you have fortification in the province, you get a lot more recruitment points. So it's separated into two. So you have the first one, 236. This is for troop units. And then you have your smaller one, which is command units. So command points and unit points. And then we have this one called defense. This one is actually selectable. Now, defense represents the militia in that province. So if you click defense, it'll show you how much militia is in that province. And the level is basically the power of the militia. So if you increase level by spending gold, you can also reduce it. Your militia will increase in power. Now, we use militia to defend a province that isn't defended by an army. So if a battle was to occur with an army in the province, the armies will fight it out. But if an army moves into a province without an army, when your army's present in the province, they'll fight the militia. This is used to stop enemy nations basically invading your provinces without you defending them with an army. So it's also always good to have a high defense value, especially if you're bordered with an enemy nation. Also, the province defense will reduce any unrest in that province, and also provide a patrol bonus, which is used for finding stealthed units. And the last one is unrest itself. At the moment it's 0. That can increase with certain events, or if there's an enemy dominion in the province. You can decrease that with using like a militia or an actual army in the province. And if you get a high unrest score, the province can rebel, or bad events can happen in that province. And the last thing is your province's dominion level and scale. As I said before, each province has a dominion level. At the moment, our province is dominion level 2, represented by 2 white candles, which represents friendly dominion. And then this is a dominion scale. Because our dominion is prevalent in this province, it will be our preferred scale. Alright then, let's talk about creating our armies and recruiting some units. Probably the most important thing in Dominions 5 is the creation of your armies. And I will say, there's so many different combinations of troops. This game does contain thousands of different units. So there's a staggering amount of different army setups. If you play multiplayer, there are like some meta armies and strategies, but we're playing single player, so you can create whatever the hell you want. So if you want to create an army of vampires with elephants and eagles, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want. But for now, our choices are very, very low because we're starting out. So the first thing we need to do is to recruit some actual troops. So what you would do is select a province and then click the recruit button for the province you want to recruit the troops in. So we select that and it will give us a list of different units and commanders to choose. Now, they're separated into 2 different types. Commanders are unique characters in the game. They'll have their own name, their own stats. And there's a whole ton of different commanders that do lots of different things. Some are more specialised in certain styles and ways of play. Some are a bit more jack of all trades, if you know what I mean. We'll go through them in a second. And underneath, you'll see your selection of units for that province. Now, wherever you put a fortification, you always get a choice of units for your nation, guaranteed. Now, if you select a different province without a fortification, you can only recruit troops and commanders native to that province. So if you look at the bottom here, you'll have a set number of recruitment points and a set number of command points. This determines how many troops or commanders you can recruit each turn, and it's also dependent on the amount of gold and resources you have. So if you hover over a troop or a unit, such as the archer, you can see his actual cost. So the archer costs 10 gold, 6 resources, and 9 recruitment points. And obviously, the more expensive the troop, usually the better the troop is. Now, you'll usually find the cheaper troops on the left side and more expensive troops on the right side. If you want to see any information on the troop, just basically right-click it, and it'll give you all its details there. Now we're going to look at the commanders, and we've got a selection of commanders here. If we right-click commander, you can also see its details, and I will go over the details now and show you what some of these things mean. So you've got your basic stats such as hit points, strength level, which is damage, defense skill, which is defense skill, how fast it moves across the map with the map move, how much recruitment points it costs, etc. Now, commanders usually command troops, not all of them. As you can see, the warrior scout has no leadership level. Now, leadership level is used to command troops. So I'll select a commander with a leadership level. As you can see, the warrior chief here, he has a leadership of 80. That means he can command 80 units of troops. You also have 2 other leadership ratings, magic leadership and undead leadership. Now, leadership is for normal troops. Magic leadership is for magic constructs or any creature with the magic being trait. And because he's not a mage, he cannot lead any magic troops. And undead leadership is, funnily enough, for commanding any unit with the undead trait. Now, underneath here, you'll have some slots for equipment. Now, equipment occur bonuses and special abilities, and you can craft equipment and also find some equipment in the game. Now, underneath here, you'll have its traits or abilities. Now, our warrior chief has cold resistance, snow move, stealthy, etc. Now, if you want to click any of these traits, it'll give you a detailed explanation, such as cold resistance, damage from cold and frost is reduced by this number of points. So basically, this character can take 5 points of cold damage without incurring any hit point loss. It also has snow move, which means it can move across any snow province without a movement penalty. Now, as I said before, there are tons of different commanders. You're going to have to examine each one, see what they do. And underneath here, we'll have its basic equipment, and this will get removed. Well, not removed. It will be superseded by any equipment you carry there. The last thing I'll show you is this box called Personal Magic Gems. Now, I've selected a mage, so this guy here, he is a mage. As you can see, because he has a mage level. If you select Personal Magic Gems, what this will do is you'll transfer gems over to your character by going on that box called Magic Resources, transfer gems to commanders. Yeah. And what Personal Magic Gems will do is give the mage the ability to cast spells 1 level higher. So if I give him some earth gems, he can cast spells 1 level higher than he is, so he can cast level 2 spells basically. Also, you can give him magic gems from a different sphere, it's like death gems, and it'll give him the ability to cast spells normally he can't cast. Okay, as you can see, there's a variety of commanders. Some have their own role. So the scout is used for moving through different provinces because it has the stealth skill, so it won't be detected if it moves into a province, but it's not a leader, so it doesn't lead troops. Where the warrior chief is more geared towards leading an army because it has a high leadership value. Now we have other characters such as the shaman, and he's a mage. You know he's a mage because he has a magic level. But he's also a priest. Now if he has this candelabra icon, that means he can cast, he can bless troops like any priest can do. Also, if you see a question mark as a trait, that means you get a random trait. So this will be a random magic skill, so you can get any sphere of magic assigned to him when you recruit him. Now, as I said before, research requires research points. So some commanders will have like a research ability, and if you set this character to research, it'll generate these research points, and this is how you generate research in the game to unlock new spells. Okay, so the way the recruitment works in this game is pretty simple. You just basically select whatever you want and it'll appear in the queue there. So as I click this archer, it'll start to queue up, and you'll notice your recruitment points and resources start to decrease. So as I continue, eventually one of these resources will go negative. So as you can see, I do not have enough resources to recruit any more troops, and you can tell this by the troop actually ghosting out there. That means it won't be built this turn. So any troop that's fully coloured and not ghosted out will be recruited in that turn. So you can remove them ones. And you can mix and match whatever you want to recruit. It's pretty simple. Now some troops are considered sacred, such as the the steel warrior here. Now, you'll see a sacred icon here, which is a candelabra without the flames. Now, sacred troops are special troops that can be blessed with the powerful blessing bonus that we chose on our pretender. This will give them big advantages in combat, but they will cost holy points. Now, we only have 3 holy points to spend, so we can only ever recruit 3 sacred troops in this province. As you can see there, 3 holy troops. I can't recruit any more. Same for the commander, except you always have a very scant amount of commander points. At the moment we've got 2, so our warrior scout costs us 1 commander point, so we can recruit 2 if we wanted to. Some will cost 2, like the shaman. Now if you don't have enough commander points, so say you only got 1 commander point, it'll take 2 turns to recruit that commander, because he costs 2 recruitment points and you only have 1. And also you can select repeat recruitment, so you don't have to keep redoing your queue every turn, because after a turn your queue will reset. So if you want to keep recruiting the same things every turn, make sure you tick that box. So now we've recruited some troops, we need to actually form an army. Now, troops won't do anything unless you assign it to a commander. So you need to go into the army setup screen, and this is where we create our mighty armies to destroy our foes. Usually you'll have a commander and a scout to start with when you create a new game. So our warrior chief here is called Arvandus, and he's going to be our main general. Now, in the army setup screen, you'll see several boxes, and can be a bit confusing at first, to be honest. Up the top, you'll see a representation of your garrison. Now, any troop that is not assigned to a commander will be sitting in the garrison doing nothing. So when you recruit troops, your garrison will start filling up. So at the top, we have several archers sitting around doing absolutely nothing. So we need to recruit these troops into our army. So our commander is represented here in this black box by the side. So we have 3 commanders. Our main commander, the warrior chief, already has some troops assigned to him. Now, each commander will have a certain amount of units that it can assign to itself. So if you look in this box over here, you'll see a couple of flags. There's a double flag and a flag with a little helmet on. Now, the double flag represents the amount of units this commander can have. You can go over your unit limit, but you'll incur penalties. So the optimal is 3. At the moment we have 1 out of 3. And next to that one, the one with the little helmet, is basically the maximum amount of troops you can field and how many troops are in. So we've got 10 troops and we have a maximum of 80 troops. And also we have the supply usage, which is represented by this card. So this is how much supplies this army will take from a province. So what I'll do is I'll reset the army. So he's just a lone commander. Now, to create a unit, you simply take a troop from a garrison or another commander and click on that commander. So I've clicked an archer, clicked my warrior chief, and that's created a unit. At the moment I only have one troop in the unit, so I can click and add more, like so. That increase the amount of troops that have that unit. You can also mix and match if you choose. You can have a composition of any units, any troops in a unit, but be careful that some troop combinations will incur a penalty to your morale. I'll explain morale in a second. So another way to selecting troops is to hold down Control. So if you want multiple troops, you want to select specific troops, hold Control and click, and then click the unit box of the commander to drop them in. Or if you're in a rush, you can double click a troop type and it'll select every single one of that troop type, like so. And then you can drop it wherever you want there. Okay, so I've created one unit. If you want to create another unit, just select another unit from the garrison and then select your commander, and that'll create a brand new unit for you. So we can create up to 3 units optimally. So if I create another unit, you'll notice that I've incurred a morale penalty. And if you keep doing that, I'll get a further morale penalty. That's why we only create as many units as is recommended for that commander. So for now, we're going to just have 2 units. I'm going to fill them, one full of archers and one full of these axe warriors here. So we have 2 units ready for battle. But we need to organise them in some sort of formation. And this is done by selecting the green box next to the unit. So if I select the green box next to the archers, it'll go into the formation window. Now, this is a representation of the battlefield. So the left side is the rear and the right side is the fore of your army. So if you move any troops to the right, it'll be at the front. Any troops to the left will be at the back. So optimally, I would obviously have your archers at the rear. Now you can choose a formation at the top. And what this will do is just change the shape of your army. Some formations will incur a bonus or a penalty depending on the troop type. So for the archers, I can put them in a line formation, or you can put them in a box formation, which just puts them in basically a square, big large square. Sparse line formation is a more spread out line. Double line is a more concentrated line, and skirmish formation is a very spread out box. For now, we'll put it in line formation. And we'll do the same for our axe warriors. Bring them towards the front. And we can put them in a line formation. Now, if you put your troops in a line formation, the main advantage of that is it blocks enemy army units basically going past your lines. So if you've got like a gap in your lines, they can actually flank you. So they could use like cavalry, could come round and attack your archers. So it's up to you how you design your army. There's a bazillion different designs you could choose depending on your units and what you have. But we only have basic army at the moment, so that's a basic setup. You can also do it for your commander. So if you've got like this guy who's quite a good fighter, you can put him towards the front if you want to. And any other commander, because you can have multiple commanders in an army, and then multiple commanders leading multiple armies. So basically, say I could like give my pretender some units, and as long as you move them commanders into a province where you're fighting, they're all fight together. So you could put your pretender on the side here if you wanted to, or your scouts on the other side, if you were planning on using all these commanders in your like full army. Okay, so the next thing is battle orders. You can set battle orders in this game, because unfortunately one of the main gripes I have with Dominions is that you cannot control your army in battle. So what will happen is, if you move an army into an enemy province for a fight, the computer will generate the results. You can watch the results at the end. I'll show you that later on. But the only thing you can do is influence the battle. So you can influence the formation, the unit types, and also what your commanders are doing in the battle. And you do this by setting battle orders. So if you click set battle orders, you can set them for specific units. So for the archers, you can basically select these commands. I'll go through them. So you've got like none, which is the default one. So basically the game will decide the course of action. You got attack, which is basically tell your unit to go in to attack straight away. And then you can select which type of units to attack. There's one called hold and attack, which basically means it'll hold a couple of turns before it initiates the attack. Fire is a ranged attack, so it'll concentrate on firing ranged weapons. Some units only have ranged attacks, where some units have both ranged and melee attacks, especially if they have like javelins and a melee weapon. The axe warriors actually have throwing axes, so if you wanted to tell them to fire your throwing axes before they initiate attack, you can do that. And hold and attack, which basically tells them to hold firing before they unleash their arrows. And then fire and keep distance is basically telling them to keep out of any melee contact completely, so it'll run away from any enemies that come towards them. So I'll put fire and keep distance for the archers. And for the axe warriors, just set to attack. You can also set battle orders for your commander. So you can tell it to either stay behind, especially useful if you're a mage character, so it doesn't basically go in from melee and get killed, slaughtered, or straight attack, or to run away, which I never understand why they have that command, to be honest. Or you can actually program your commander with a set amount of tasks. I'll show you this better with the Pretender. So if I select the Pretender, you can tell it to hold for a turn, do nothing, attack for one turn, and then you can actually tell your commander to cast a specific spell. So if you want to set a sequence of different spells that you've unlocked, you can tell your commander to do that. So you can set a sort of strategy, especially useful like if you're fighting a nation that specialises in fire. You can tell your commander to cast lots of ice spells, which are effective against fire magic. Okay, so that's the basics of forming an army. Right, next thing I want to talk about is actually using commanders. So you won't get anywhere in this game without using your commanders. So if you select a province, on the left side you'll see how many commanders or what commanders are in that province. So at the moment we have 3 commanders. We have our warrior chief, our scout, and our pretender god in that province. Now, as well as the name, you'll see some text underneath each commander. That's basically telling you what that commander is going to be doing that turn. So at the moment they're all stuck on defend. Now if you click that text, you can give that commander a order. So if I clicked defend on my warrior chief, I'll have a list of different commands I can give to it. So I can tell it to move to a different province, basically just defend and stay in a province, patrol province, which is used to make unrest go down and to find stealth units. I can tell it to pillage a province, which will increase unrest, but is used to find extra gold. And then there's other ones such as become prophet, which I'll just go into a second. There's one called empowerment, which is used to level up your magic levels. And you can spend gems to increase your mage level. There's one called blood hunt. I said before, magic sites are used for generating magic gems, and blood hunt is the best way to get blood slave for casting blood magic. but that will also increase unrest and also decrease your population. You can also construct some buildings, and as I said before, there are 3 buildings you construct in this game. The first one being your fortification, which we went over. There's 2 other ones. There's one called a laboratory, and there's one called a temple. Now your laboratory, you can build in any province, and without laboratory you cannot recruit any mages. You can also not construct any magic items. So that's what a laboratory does. Now your temple is very important. Without a temple you cannot recruit priests, and also a temple will increase your dominion. Now the way dominion works is it spreads across your dominion, your provinces and other adjacent provinces. Now, the higher your dominion level and the more temples you'll have increases the chance that a province will increase in the level of your dominion. Also, there's other factors that increase dominion increasing, and that's your pretender being present, as well as something called the prophet. Now, if you select a unit, you can make that a commander. You can make that commander become a prophet. You can only have 1 prophet at a time. Now, if the prophet dies, you'll have to anoint a new prophet. Now, the benefits of being a prophet is that commander will become a sacred unit, as well as able to spread dominion, or increase the chances to spread dominion across provinces, as well as being able to bless troops, as well as having that bless bonus you're selected in your god creation part. So always make sure you have a prophet. Ideally, I'd select quite a powerful commander to be your prophet. For now, I'm just going to select my general to be a prophet, so I'm going to have an early prophet. Right, there are other commands. So if I select my pretender, he has a few other ones. Now, because he's a mage and has research points, the research ability, you can select that commander to research. And what he will do, he'll sit in a province and generate research points as long as he has the research selected. You can also tell any character with magic to forge a magic item. Now, when you research construction, each 2 levels will unlock a new level or a new selection of magic items to create, as well as spells. So construction is a bit different from some of the other magic schools. Okay, so if you click Forge Magic Item, you'll see which magic items are unlocked, and that'll be dependent on your mage's skill. So because he's like an earth mage, he'll get mainly earth items, but if he has a mixture of magic schools, spheres, then he'll have a different range of items, dependent on the mage what items will appear. So at the moment, because we haven't got a very high construction level, we only have a scant selection of items. But if you hover over the item, such as Fire Sword, you can click it to build that item, as long as you have enough gems. If you right click the item, it'll tell you the cost. So it requires me to be Fire Magic level 1 to forge. Also, it'll cost me 5 fire gems to forge. So I can't forge that this turn because I haven't got enough fire gems. And there's different categories such as one-handed, two-handed weapons, shields, helmets, armor, and boots, as well as trinkets. And any of these items you forge can be put onto any commander you choose. Each commander has their own slots. And there's also a thing called alchemy, which way you can convert different gems to other gems. So you can convert fire gems to astral pearls, and then convert them astral pearls into other gems. And that's a way of converting like a big pool of gems you don't use into something more useful. I've gone through empowerment. Empowerment is basically spending gems to increase your mage level. So it'll cost me 120 earth gems to level up from 7 to 8. Now, important one is search magic sites. Now, I said before, magic sites are the way you generate gem incomes. Now, to find magic sites, you'll need to conquer provinces and then move a mage commander onto that province and then select search magic sites. And as long as he meets the requirements, he will uncover different magic sites. So you might have to use multiple different mages of different spheres to uncover every magic site. And you can also demolish any constructions if you choose to as well. Well, that's basically all the commands you can do. Okay, the next thing I want to look at is movement. Movement's very important in the Old Dominions 5. If you select any province, you'll see a selection of dotted lines going out from that centre of the province. This represents routes you can travel across and the route to each adjacent province. So if I select this province here, you'll see there's different coloured routes. Now each colour represents a different movement type. So the green line represents unhindered movement, which basically means you'll have no movement penalty when you move into that province. Yellow is hindered movement, which will incur where you incur like a movement penalty, so you move slower across that province. The blue one indicates water movement, which means you're moving into an underwater province. Now, if your army doesn't have the ability to move into an underwater province, you can't travel to that province. There's also one more, which is red. This represents a blocked province. It means you can't move across it normally. You'd have to either fly across it or teleport across it to get to that province. Now, some armies can move multiple provinces at a turn. So if you select an army, sometimes you can select a province 2 squares away and it will travel there. That's because it's got high movement speed. Hindered movement will usually stop you from doing that. Now, to move into underwater provinces, you will need the ability to breathe underwater. This is either done by the fact that troop type can breathe underwater, and some troop types can only breathe underwater. And most land types can't go into water. There are a few troop types that are amphibian and can do both, but the typical way to get land-based troops underwater is to use a spell or have a magic item that can incur underwater status to your army. It's the same for if you're an underwater nation. Often a lot of your troops cannot move onto a land nation, and you have to find some way to move onto the land via magical items, etc. Okay, movement's pretty simple. Now, if you select a commander and click on a province, you'll get an arrow indicating that that commander will move to that province. Now, there's a couple of different movement types. The typical one is move. Now, some troops have the stealth trait, like the scout. Now, if the commander is alone, or if the commander controls an army of stealth troops, the default movement is sneak. So if I move my scout to this province, the arrow's gone white, it's indicating he's sneaking. Now, stealth's very important, and scout is very important if you want to see what's in a neighbouring province or find out where an enemy nation is. Often you'll use a scout unit such as Munifred here. Now, when he moves into any province and sneaks, the next turn he'll appear in that province and should be invisible as long as he doesn't get detected. Now, if he was to move into the province, and he can do this by holding down control. So if you don't want to sneak into a province, you can hold down control and click in a province, and that'll default to move. So make sure if you're attacking a province with multiple commanders and some of them sneak, that you hold down control so some of them don't sneak. So if they're sneaking, they won't attack. They'll just hide in the province. So that's how you move troops around. Okay, so let's play some actual game. I've gone through pretty much everything now. So I'll show you an example game, early game. So what I'm going to do is set my recruitment pool. So I want a mage and I want some troops. So I want some more archers and a couple of sacred units because they're quite powerful and they'll help my army. Because the neutral provinces here, and you'll know it's a neutral province because it has a white flag, and you'll notice your nation because it'll have your banner across it. Now, once you come across the enemy nation, you'll have some other sort of unusual banner, so you'll know that's an enemy nation. Neutral nations provinces always contain a neutral army, and it's always varying, it's always random. So we need to find out what armies are in these provinces. So what I can do is I can move my scout to adjacent province and sneak him in. So I move my scout in sneak mode into a neighbouring province. Because I don't know what's in these neutral provinces, I'm going to keep my commander behind and I'm going to make him a prophet. Now my pretended god is alive, so what I can do is I can either research, I could cast a ritual spell, which I don't have many of, so it's not much point in that. So he can't do much in the moment, and what I'm going to do is put him on research. Make sure you set your research queue. So let's get level in conjuration, level in evocation, thaumaturgy, and not bad about blood magic. So and then the next one I'm going to increase my construction and another level in conjuration. So make sure you set your research queue so you're not wasting turns. Okay, so that's pretty much my first turn set. There's not a lot I can do with first turn. I could recruit some mercenaries if I wanted to. I could try a bit for some mercenaries. So I'll put a bid in with whatever gold I've got. Try to get these mercenaries. I'll bid 70 gold and try to get them. So what we'll do is we'll end turn. And what happens is you'll have the messages for every event that happened in that turn. So you'll have these things called proclamations. This is basically telling you that that nation has proclaimed a commander as their prophet. So sometimes you'll have random events, like an unexpected event has occurred in Ulm. So that's a good event. So I got +5 nature gems for free. And we were successful and we recruited that mercenary army. So there we go. As you can see, some of the neighbouring provinces have revealed their armies. Obviously I can't expand into the underwater provinces because I can't breathe underwater. This province has an army of 30 barbarians. So if you right click the province, it'll give you a rough account of what's in that province. This is why scouting is important, so you can actually see what's in that province. But this province only has 6 enemy types, and these are Kappas. So these are quite the turtle men here, which are tougher than a barbarian, but there's not many of them, so that should be an easy province to take. So if I right click on my main province, Ulm, you'll notice I've got a new commander now, and this is the recruited mercenary army. So if I go into my army setup, you can see the new mercenary army there, and he has a unit of foul spawn. We can fight with, so we've put them on the side there. They can help us in oncoming battles. So any recruited units will appear in the garrison at the top. So I have some archers, so I can add my archers to my army, and I have a couple of sacred steel warriors, and I'll make a new unit with them. I'll put them at the side there. Okay, so we're set for battle now. So what I'll do is I'll move my main army into that province with my mercenary army. I mean, you could split it up. You could put your mercenary army down there if you want to. I've also recruited a mage called Snarako. So you could move the mage with your army to help cast spells, which is good because our general can't cast spells. Or you can leave him behind to research. He'll be moving with my army. So make sure he's moving, not sneaking. And yeah, so I could move my scouts a bit further in. And then we just end turn. Or I could change my, actually I changed my recruit. I've got too many archers, I want some more axe warriors. Okay, so end that turn, and we should have a battle this time. So there was a battle at Batory's Rest. So if you click the message, it'll give you a full account of what happened. So there was a battle at Batory's Rest. Your province, previously owned by independents, has been conquered by our forces, so we were successful. And I'll give you a rundown of basically what how many units you lost. So you'll see Forces of Ulm, which is our army, and all the commanders and units in that army. So it'll tell you the Axe Warriors killed 5 units, which are represented by the sword, and the grave is how many units died. So I killed 5 units, and I lost 1 Axe Warrior. And my Steel Warriors killed 1 unit, and underneath that is the enemy army, and they were all slaughtered. Now you can also view the battle. This will give you a full representation of what happened. So you click View Battle, and it'll replay the battle in real time. As you can see, you can pause and rewind wherever, for fast forward I mean. In the corner there, it'll show you every event, what spells your commanders are casting, and you can watch as the battle unfolds. So if you want to change your tactics, or if you lose as well, it's good to watch your replay to see what happened. So you can see archers are firing and my infantry's moving in. My priests are blessing, and my mages should be blessing some spells as well. So this is like a basic battle. They're a bit slow, so what I'm going to do next battle is move them further towards the front, because it took a long time, the foul spawn, to get to the front lines. So yeah, that's a basic battle one. So if you press Q, that'll bring you out to that. Also got the event that because my commander has gained a lot of experience, he's become a hero. Now you become a hero when you're one of the most powerful commanders on the map, and you'll get bonuses. So if you click your commander here and look at him, you'll see he has the heroic ability trait now, because he's become a hero. And he's also gained affliction resistance as well. Now your commanders will gain experience as they battle, and this means they'll get better stats, and also the leadership should increase, so you can field a larger army. Okay, so my province is taken now. So as you'll notice, I'm Dominion level 1, and it's on a different scale, so it's in heat scale, which I don't want. So I want to increase my Dominion in that province. So what you can do is, you could recruit a priest. I've already got one here, because this mage is a priest as well. And what you can do is you can select something called Preach Teachings of God. Your prophet can do this as well as your pretender. And what that'll do is that'll give you a chance to increase your dominion in that province. Now another thing you should do every time you take a province is try to find magic sites. What I'm going to do is going to move my pretender to that province and search for magic sites. But for now I'm going to keep the momentum up, and I'm going to attack this province down the south. Now, to move multiple commanders into a full army, what you can do is hold down control. So if you select your main commander, hold down control, you can select other commanders, and that'll group it up into an army. So if you select another province, then select this province, and then select just one of the commanders, that's a full group now. So what we'll do is we'll move south, and then the last thing we should do, now you've taken a province, is give your province some defense and put the militia down. So spend some gold, and you'll get a militia depending on what the province is. As you can see, we'll get like a unit of Kappas. And also, if you, as I said before, each province has their own pool of recruits you recruit. So because this was dependent by Kappas, if I recruit units, you should be able to recruit Kappas. So I could, if I want to, recruit some Kappas, or make a Kappa army, because that unit is unique to that province. But you won't have many recruitment points on a province without a fortification, so that'd be very slow. But you can still do that. Okay, so with that done, I'm going to set my mage. I recruited and researched. Now you will notice I've got my mage on repeat recruitment. Is because I want to pool the mages to research. So you have a lot of mages in a province. You can just set them to research, and then if you want to cast a ritual, you can do that, or forge magic item. You can use them mages. But it's also always good to have like a good big pool of mages in your starting province, or in a province with a like fortification, to increase your research rate. So I made all my decisions. I'm going to end turn, and I've completed a level in research there, and we've had another battle. So this one once is good because barbarians are quite tough. So be careful when attacking barbarian provinces. I only attacked it because there wasn't many barbarians there, but as you can see, the barbarians have slaughtered 15 of my foul spawn mercenary army, and I lost 5 axe warriors as well. Let's view the battle and see what happened. So okay, so if you right click any unit while you're watching a battle, like, you will give a description of the unit if you're wondering what it is. So okay, it looks like the barbarian went straight for the foul spawn, and they were just cutting through. So barbarians are quite tough. So yeah, if we look now, I've conquered that province, so we're going to increase the defense. And because it's a friendly civilization, i.e. it's a barbarian civilization, my defense is cheaper to buy. I'll get about 15. And for now I have a barbarian army. If I wanted to, I could recruit barbarian units there. We also have a couple of sites I've already revealed, such as Academy of War, so that gives you combat training, and Turtle Village, which gives you the ability to recruit a unit called Turtle Chief and Turtle Warrior, if you wanted to. Now, that's one of the basic early games, so that's what you're going to be doing. So eventually, you want to take more provinces, and if successful, eventually, you'll get to the point where you can, like if you took this province here, you could build another fortification and then gather resources from the adjacent lands there. So that's what you should be doing. Now, I said before, the victory conditions in this game is called Throne of Ascension. Now, this icon here is a throne, and ideally you need to be taking these provinces to win the game. So what you would do is you'd march onto that province, take it, and then use a pretender or a prophet to claim the throne. And I think if you've got enough thrones and you hold them long enough, then you win the game. So that's what that icon means. Okay then, the last thing I want to show you is a more advanced game. So this is a different game I'm playing. I'm still playing Ulm, but this is a different map. It's a much larger map, as you can see. Okay, I'll explain the game. So this province here is where I started, and now I have advanced out and taken a lot more other provinces. And what will happen is you will bump into enemy nations. Now, as you can see, there's this nation over here with the turquoise flag, and to my south is another nation with the black flag here. These are enemy nations. Now, there's no diplomacy in the game, but there is a kind of a rule. Now, if you attack an enemy nation first, that kind of declares war on them, and they will attack back. Sometimes, if you leave an enemy nation alone, depending on their AI type, it might not necessarily attack you straight away. Now, this north nation here, can I pronounce that? Archocephaly, I've left alone, and they've left me alone, which is good. But unfortunately, down the south, the nation of Zebalba, actively attacked me, so they're an aggressive nation. Now I'm fighting a war with them. Now, as you can see, my main province has a lot of commanders in it, and these are mainly mages, and these are mainly researching. So I've been getting my research levels up, and I've been also recruiting troops in that province as well to bolster my armies. Now, my Forge Lord, my pretender, he is casting a ritual called Clockwork Soldiers. It's a summoning ritual where he will summon like mechanical soldiers, and what I'm doing is I've selected Clockwork Soldiers, and I'm doing it as a monthly ritual. That means he'll repeat that every month without me telling him to do it. So that's what he's doing. I have an army in my main province. As you can see, it's a large army. It's mainly forest warriors, warrior maidens. So basically a line of infantry, a line of archery, range units, archers. Archers are going to be archers, and then I've got a unit of steel warriors on my flank there. I also have another army down the south, as you can see, and this guy's my prophet called Eberwolf, and you can see he's quite experienced now. So if I select him, you can see he has gained experience represented by these medallions. He's got a never healing wound, which isn't good. Nothing I can do about that. He's got a 20% HP reduction. He's also a hero. He has some items I've forged, like Halberd of Might here, which gives him some damage and a few protection items. And his army is pretty much the same as my other army, to be honest. Okay, so I've spread out. As you can see, I've found some magic sites. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you can even find a fortification. Like I found this castle fortification there. That's because I've spread out with mages to find search for magic sites. So I have a castle at the south here as well. We're not too bothered about the north, and I have a castle. I should have a castle here to the east, and I have another smaller army up here. So basically, from your early game, once you've got some provinces and more resources, put down a few more fortifications, and then I'd start recruiting more commanders so you can field more armies. Because obviously your commanders can only field so many troops. So what we're going to do. So this guy's conquered this province last turn, which is denoted by the sword icon above there. So our enemy has a humongous army over here, 190 units. And if you right click the province, it'll give you a rundown what's in there. So some guys, bone feeds, etc. So that's a massive army. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to retreat back to my castle there, because I don't want to get attacked by that army there. I'd have a better chance at my castle, and I may need to bolster my army. So what am I going to do? I'm going to try. I think I'm going to move this main army towards the south. So as you can see, this army can move 2 spaces because it's got enough movement speed. It's going to move faster, and it's bringing a mage along with him as well. So yeah, so this is like I wouldn't say, so it's past early game. So this is what you should be doing now: expanding, searching for magic sites, recruiting more armies, strengthening armies with more troops, and then also increasing your research level to unlock more spells, and then maybe summoning more creatures to diversify your army, to strengthen your army. Recruiting more mages to generate more research, and then ever expanding, trying to take more thrones, defeating more nations. And as I say, don't fight too many nations if you can help it. It's pretty obvious. I'm concentrating on this Bat Nation on the bottom here. So ultimately, I want to destroy them. And I think I nearly have. I think they've only got these 2 provinces left. So they're holding out in that castle. So what I'll do is I'll surround the castle. And eventually I'll make a strike. So yeah. So hopefully what I've shown you will be some help. If any questions about the game, just leave a message. I'll probably answer it. So thank you for watching my guide, and I'll probably be doing some guides from other games later. I review roguelikes mainly for now, but I might go into other things depending how popular my channel gets. It's just steadily growing, and I am trying to get better at my videos. I'm no expert by no means. So thanks a lot, and take care, guys.